Hey guys, this is Filter Starcraft and welcome back for episode number 5 of my Zerg Bronze to Master series. This particular episode is actually going to be broken up into 2 parts. The reason I'm going to break it up into 2 parts is because I feel you can play very similarly against Protoss and very similar against Terran. There's a few small things you have to do, but that's not going to matter until we start talking about like high diamond Master League play, so that stuff's not very important just yet. What is important is kind of breaking ZVZ off into its own little deal. The reason I want to break it off so early is because for me personally, I didn't find much difference in difficulty in the ZVZ games I played in Silver and Gold League to the ZVZs I played in Masters. If anybody's watched my stream, every now and then I'll get frustrated and I'll play Zerg on my main account and I'll play, a top rated Masters player, ZVZ, and I'll win. Simple as that. With a very similar build to kind of how I play out the Silver stuff. Now, decision making, overlord scouting, watching the minimap, that stuff is all really important in ZVZ, and I don't feel the concepts for this particular episode are going to apply to that particular matchup, so we're going to leave that till the next part. Now the next part's going to be up very quickly, so don't worry about it. The game in the background is a Zerg versus Zerg that I play. For whatever reason, my account placed in Gold League, which is great, that's where I want to be for these videos. Then I played a bunch of Platinum players, and then for this particular video I played a Diamond player. So I don't know what's going on with my MMR. I tried to get a game that was a ZBP or a ZBT. I just couldn't get it, and I can only play so many games on the account before the MMR just gets too high. I kept getting ZBZ after ZBT. So the game in the background is a ZBZ. It's against a Diamond level player. The guy opens up extremely aggressive, and I make a couple mistakes in the early game that actually end up costing me the game. So, from my perspective, I got a little overconfident in my ability to hold it with basically just queens. Should have made extra spines. If I did, I would have held no problem. I actually didn't take very much damage from the banelings, but when he started just going to lings instead of banes, I managed to take apart my roaches that I was defending with. So, it ended up working out for him. I think I lost 31 drones total and over the series of his initial attacks, which is pretty devastating in the ZVZ. Game overall was still close. I make an attack that was ill-advised and probably not placed the best. I also didn't push my advantage very much. I didn't go for 3-3 on my roaches, and I didn't mix in enough hydralisks. So overall I wasn't very happy with the way I played the game. However, it's still a fairly interesting game, and you can see those mistakes and kind of how they play out. So what I mean by not pushing my advantage is when I do scout him, I realize that he's going to have +1/+1 much later than me. He's also going to have +2/+2 much later than me, if he even goes for it. And I didn't try to go for +3/+3, which would have been the smart thing to do, because most players will only go +2/+2. So if I had gone to 3-3, would have been in great shape, and I probably could have won the game. So a few things in the background game to watch for. Now for this particular episode, it is still kind of aimed at a Gold League level. Again, it doesn't matter what skill level you are, there's still going to be stuff for you to pull out of this. If you are playing, in Bronze League, but you feel like you're really hitting the benchmarks, you're doing really well with the Silver stuff, you maybe only play 10 games a week, so getting promoted is not necessarily on your path, feel free to do this. If you're already in Diamond, you're already in Masters, again, feel free to take the concepts here and apply them to your own game. Obviously, you're not going to blanket steal everything, but there's going to be lots of good concepts here. So I want to keep this really simple because it is still for Gold League play, and we're going to talk about creep spread and map control and stuff like that in the next video. But for this video, we're just worrying about laying out our play, laying out our overall plan for the game, how we're going to transition, how we're going to get those big tier units, when we'll make a decision of should we still continue to attack and kill our opponent, or are we going to move into our next tier of tech, so that it doesn't come to a point where roaches are just not any good anymore. We have to go into something else, but it's already too late to have made that decision. We don't have the upgrades, we don't have the tech, we don't have anything ready. So we're going to talk about that here. Alright, so what we want to do here is maintain our backbone army as roaches. Roaches are really good against anything in early to mid game that Terran and Protoss are going to throw at you, with the exception of a couple funky timings and a couple funky plays that typically you're not going to see work out all that well in Gold League. I did have one player who did a fairly good immortal push against me in Gold League, but this really only happened once, so I'm not too concerned about it. Those are the type of games you can go, okay, well, you watch the replay, what could you have done different? How could you have identified his build and maybe prepared a little bit better? But for the purposes of this play right now, we're just going to focus on maintaining our Roach backbone, and then how do we transition safely into our Broodlord army, Broodlord, Roaches, Zerglings, we're going to kind of skip the infestors and leave them to later. If you want to use them in your own play, again, feel free. But right now we don't want to add too much micro to it. We just want to take advantage of the tools we do have available. So we're going to take a look at that and how we can do that safely. The big thing about going to Broodlords is you really need to take a third base. You're going to need to take a fourth base. So we're going to look at kind of how we can safely do all that stuff. It should work out quite well. Now, this build is really going to start to separate players and pull them apart. If you're a player that is getting 40 drones or 45 drones by 8 minutes, but you're not getting to 55, you're not getting to 60, this is really going to start to pull you apart and separate your play. So you want to make sure that you have that foundation, you're able to hit those benchmarks, you're completely ready to go with this. This is what we've been preparing for. So the main idea here is if we get to 55 or 60 drones, we can take a third base, we can start throwing some drones over there. We can make a small round of 10 or so drones and have that base completely saturated very quickly. Basically, as soon as it goes up, that base is ready to go. We don't have to worry about it anymore. And then again, we can take a fourth base, slide a few more drones over there. Basically, just try to take the gas on that base. Maybe spread our drones out a little bit so that if a drop or something comes, it's not going to be too devastating for us. Now, as soon as we start roach production, what we're going to look to do is take our third base. So once you hit that 8-minute mark and you flip into roach mode, take your third base, use your roaches, spread them out depending on the map where it would be an effective place to have them. Take your third, maybe make a round of 10 drones if you feel safe and you don't think your opponent is going to try to attack you. And then once your speed finishes, once your +1/+1 finishes, that's when you're looking to move out and attack. This is where the pace of the game is going to step up a little bit. So what you need to do when you're taking your third base is walk your extra queens. So you're going to have 2 extra queens, walk one of them over there. That'll give you the injects you need off that particular hatchery. You're going to want to take both your gases there. You should have about 10 extra drones going there on top of the ones that you're going to transfer and pull from your natural and your main base. That'll give you 3 really well saturated bases to work off, which should be extremely effective. The other thing you're going to do is obviously walk your roaches over across the map to try to attack. The big thing about it is instead of grabbing +2/+2, you're going to grab +1 melee attacks and +2 carapace. So make sure you do that. That is going to be really, really important in terms of transitioning. Now, remembering that the players that we're playing against here are hopefully going to be gold leaguers, platinum leaguers, maybe the odd diamond player in there. So what you're going to do is make the decision when you get to your opponent's base. Do I attack him? If he has a million siege tanks lined up, if there's a bunch of immortals, there's a ton of sentries to force you out, probably something you don't want to do. When you make the decision of, am I going to attack and continue the pressure, keep making roaches, keep making roaches, keep making roaches, try to kill your opponent. If you make the decision that you want to attack instead of attacking because you don't feel like you can cost efficiently break him, or you can break him at any point that is going to win you the game basically in the next few minutes, that is when you make your decision to tech. Now when you make your decision to tech, it's really important that you throw down an infestation pit, you throw down a spire, you get zergling speed, and you look to take a fourth base. This is where the game is going to start to get really hectic. What you don't want to do is make a ton more roaches. You want to keep your supply freed up. So get your overlords so you're at about 150 over 200. Don't make any more roaches unless you need to. You want to keep that extra supply completely ready to go and free for the broodlords you're hopefully going to make shortly. You want to get a nice mixture of broodlords and corruptors, so it should work out quite well. Now take your fourth base. You want to get the gas on the fourth base. Don't necessarily care about the minerals. You can spread your drones out a little bit if you want, but that is going to give you gas from 4 bases at a very early point in the game. Now from there, after your infestation pit finishes, what you need to do is tech up to Hive. So start your Hive. Your Spire should probably be finished by now. That's okay, don't worry about it. We're going to leave that Spire and turn it into a greater Spire after. One of the big things about this is when you make your decision, that's your decision. You can't backtrack it. Whenever you make a decision in Starcraft 2, it's really important to follow through with that decision, regardless of if it may be right or wrong. If you watch a lot of professional games, you'll see a lot of players in a lot of situations where maybe it doesn't necessarily look like they could win. Marine King is a really good example of this. Marine King will see 1 to 2 Colossus out, he will make the decision that he does not need Vikings to take them out, and he will get extra barracks and he will stick with that decision. He's not all of a sudden going to try to get a million Vikings to defend himself. He has made the decision that he can beat the opponent's army without getting those Vikings. If all of a sudden you decide to do that, and a minute and a half later you see a 3rd Colossus pop out, and you try to start getting into Viking production, it's going to be too slow, too late, and you're going to die. You have to rely on your micro and your ability and your faith within the decision you made. So for this particular purpose in our game, our decision is going to be, are we teching or are we attacking to kill our opponent? When you make that decision, and you have to make it basically as soon as you get to his base. If you get to his base, you feel like you can kill him, rally and roaches, keep making them. If you don't think you can, again, just pull your roaches back, make sure he doesn't take a third base on maps that will allow you to deny it, take your own fourth base, get your hive tech up, get into, your +3 carapace hopefully should be just about ready to go, your +2 melee attack should be just about ready to go, and as soon as your hive is finished, your spire should be done for a long time. Get that spire turned into a greater spire, start getting some corruptors on the field, push yourself to about 180 supply, and then again, keep hitting those injects even though you're not using them for anything. It's going to be really important that you can reinforce with a lot of zerglings. When your hive finishes, one of the big things you're going to want to do is take a macro hatch. So just throw down a hatchery in your base, get an extra queen if you feel like you need it. That'll give you 5 hatcheries to work off in terms of reinforcements, because you're going to have 4 bases and a macro hatch back at home. This is going to start to feel a little bit complicated, but when you really look at it, it's very, very simple. You're just making the decision of, do I attack to kill, or am I going to tech up? Okay, we're going to jump into a sample game shortly, and I'm going to kind of show you what I mean by making that decision, sticking with it, teching up, getting your broodlords out, and then using them properly to kill your opponent. One of the big things you don't want to do when you get all your broodlords up is you really only need about 5 or 6, maybe a couple more, but you want to have a nice big corruptor number 2 for your anti-air. That's going to help you out a lot. So make sure when you're doing that you don't overmake broodlords, you don't have any anti-air, all your broodlords are going to get picked off. It's really important that you have some corruptors available to pick off things like, Colossus, Void Rays, Vikings, all that kind of stuff that can really mess up and break your army. The other big thing about it is, because you're going for the melee attacks, that's where you're going to be. You're going to get the adrenal glands upgrade for your zerglings. Instead of rallying in tons and tons of roaches, you want to have more and more supply getting freed up for corruptors, for broodlords, down the line for infestors and stuff like that. So what you want to do is rally in zerglings, because they're going to rally into your army really, really quickly. You're going to be able to deal with things like Colossus that kill zerglings very, very easily. And it's just going to make your overall ball of your army very good. The other thing is, if he does something silly like blink his stalkers in underneath to try to kill your broodlords, your roach and zergling army is going to absolutely hammer him. It's not really going to be an option for him. So it's important that you kind of position your main army underneath your broodlords. Use your broodlords to kind of push him back, push him back, push him back, force him to come in and engage you, because at a certain point he's going to have to do that. So it's really important that you control your broodlords properly. You make sure that he doesn't have the option to just come in and kill them all. You play it very safe, you play it very slowly, and you should have no difficulty beating the player that you're playing against. Alright, we're going to jump into our sample game here. If we get a half decent split off, not too bad. Get the rally point set, send the overlord, and here we go. So we'll just execute the build as we have been doing for a while now. Things should look pretty good, so you should be getting fairly comfortable with this particular style of play and how things work out one way or another, so it should be pretty straightforward. Get our overlord on 9 and spam and wait for an extra one, so things are looking good. One thing I have actually been hearing a lot from other players and people that I talk to and kind of post on my videos, or post on Team Liquid, or message me, or whatever it is, Reddit. A lot of people will play tons and tons of games against the computer, and they'll play a couple of ladder games, they won't play too many. One thing I do want to really emphasize, that one of the best ways you can learn is by playing other people on ladder. It's a really good way to learn. Put yourself under a little bit more pressure to make sure you are executing things properly. You know the build so well that nothing he does is going to throw you off. So you want to practice your mechanics, so mechanically you can play really well in single player. But from then on, you really want to be playing a ladder. I do practice new builds occasionally in single player, but I definitely like to take a lot of things to ladder and see how they work out too. If anybody watches my stream, they saw me, you know, I was doing something that I want to do for my Build of the Week show, and I practiced it once in single player and said, alright, let's see what's cool about this, what works on ladder, and I took it straight to ladder, which is definitely something that you can do as well. It'll definitely help you out. So don't be afraid to go to ladder with stuff. Alright, so we got our first pair of links, only pair of links that'll handle the watchtowers. And should be able to start my queen basically as soon as that overlord pops here. One more drone. And come on, queen. There we go. So everything's looking good. Supply's looking good, natural's coming along nicely. Peter hasn't tried to harass me yet. They haven't done a proxy gateway on me, which is nice. And for the purposes of the sample and the demonstration game, I'm going to do my decision making straight away. So my decision for this game is going to be that the computer is too entrenched in its base for me to do anything. So that will be my decision. Start my queen there. Let's get one of these turned into a spine crawler. Drones. More drones. Again, I don't want to miss any larvae. I don't want to miss larvae for a second. So I'm basically staring minimap and I'm staring at my hatcheries so I can see when I have larvae, so I can spend it immediately. So definitely going to need another overlord very quickly. So watching timer, getting close to when we're going to need to spend get our gas. And I got an overlord on the way, but I'm going to need another one, so let's get queen on the hotkey. Get another overlord. And let's get our double queen here. So we have our 2 extra defensive queens. One more overlord. And 6 minutes, that means it's time to get into gas. So let's start gas. Should we tag our injects here? More drones. Yeah. So our gas is going to be ready here. So let's get some drones in there. And not being too overly careful. And let's get some more drones on gas. Should be able to safely rally everything down low. And continuing. Next up, Roach Warren, Evo Chambers. So there goes my Roach Warren. There goes one Evo. I'm going to put my other Evo back here. Get those injects rolling. I don't know what that queen's trying to do, but hey. Get the injects. Get our lair on the way. And some more drones. So I have 4 queens and 2 lings, which means I have 10 extra supply. Be able to get a drone count very easily as soon as all this stuff finishes here. So got my carapace on the way. Hopefully could use more drones at the main. Alright. So we hit 58 drones by 8 minutes there. Not bad. So now we're getting overlords on the way here. Let our upgrades nicely going. Start getting some roaches here. Now, what I want to do is take that extra base. So I've started my roaches, so I can start taking that base. And I'm just rallying the roaches forward. Again, hitting injects. Okay, that's finished. Time to dip into roach speed. Again, just getting roaches. And I'm going to put that queen in that hotkey. Those roaches to kill this out there. More roaches. Definitely going to need more overlords. Achilles heel, but that's alright. So let's get those roaches over there. Make sure we got a good rally. Things looking good. I'm going to do my round of about 10 drones, and I'm going to send them all over there, because I don't feel like I'm going to be under attack here. More overlords again. Grab a few drones off here. Get those extractors up. Just watching the way they're mining. It's still a little bit sideways, so let's grab a couple extra. The best ways to do it. Nothing's mining sideways here, so I'm only going to grab a few drones. And, again, just dip in the roaches. A little bit of long distance mining going on, that's okay. Now I'm going to grab melee and carapace. Not off the same evolution chamber though. Never a good thing. Alright, I got roach speed. Ready to go. See, my food's a little bit low. And that's because we took the third base. So that's what's going to kind of start to happen to you. You're going to find, as you take a fairly late third base, that's how it's going to work. Alright. But now we've got 3 hatcheries to produce, so I'm going to wait for one more round, and then I'm going to move out. That should feel pretty good. So, another round of roaches. Get my overlords. Again, rally into my roach there, and my roaches are going to quote-unquote attack. So, and I'm just going to try to max out my overlord supply now. You can see how the economy is starting to really boom. Okay, so my roaches have got to my opponent's base. Decided that he is too entrenched and I need to tech up. So with that, I'm going to go Spire, Infestation Pit, get a few more roaches up, just kind of hit the 150-ish supply. Going to take another base, really only looking to take the gas out of that base. Now, just going to look for injects. So the other thing is I need another macro hatch. So we're going to grab that extra queen, send that over there. Grab all my roaches. And keep hitting injects, not spending my money. Just getting upgrades and really focusing on making that transition as smooth as possible. Infestation's pit is up, that means it's time to go into Hive. Cool. Add the extra hatchery here. It's just about done. We're going to add a few drones here. And we're going to go take that gas. It's going to give us 4 gas to work off, 5 hatches. Things should be looking good. You can see how much money I have built up right now. Spire is done. That means it's time to get corruptors. We'll go up to 180. There we go. You see how fast that money got spent, right? Insane. How quick the money goes down. Again, still focusing on my injects. Get my queen from there. Send those guys to gas. 3 on the way back over there. So let's go gas again. Again, just trying to hit injects. The queens with almost full energy are the ones I had originally for whatchamacallit. I'm gonna get my as soon as the for a creep spread, or they will be in the future. So again, money's building up. Going into Greater Spire here. Now a lot of times what will happen is these roaches will be in combat and we'll have to replace some of them. That didn't happen to me in this game for obvious reasons. And over there, see how many cryptors I got there? Looking good. Again, just hitting my injects. Just clicking through the bases. Stop, because that's not hacking. There we go. Perfect. So Greater Spire is about halfway done. It's on the way. So. Alright, so mineral buildup is starting to get up there, so all we're going to do is take another base, transfer some drones, and keep on hitting those injects. And Hive is done, so we can dip into our next set of upgrades, no problem. Chief got Zergling speed, so that's my fault. It's not something you want to do, that'll set you back a lot. see how much larvae I'm building up. How much map control I'm going to have off this, right? Alright, that's finished. So now I'm just going to make 5 or 6. There we go. Fill in the rest with some roaches and a pair of lings. You see how many larvae I have for a fight now. Any kind of fight goes off, I'm in fantastic shape. Start spreading out some drones for better mining, so let's do that. Now, one thing you see a lot of higher level players do is they'll start to add in more and more whatchamacallit, sorry, can't talk right now apparently. More and more spine crawlers. You can with good creep spread. Definitely an option. And you can see I've got a pretty good beefy looking army. Now, what you really want to do is right click everything under the Broodlords, use your Broodlords to attack. Anything that comes near them is going to get destroyed. Right, and there we go. Now we got our gas over here. So go ahead and dip into that to get our extra gas. And again, we got a bunch of Broodlords, we got a bunch of Corruptors. These are looking good. You can start to spend money on upgrades, whatever you want. We don't have double spires, so one attack upgrade at a time. And the Broodlords are just what I'm going to use to chew apart the opponent here. So again, just a really simple, straightforward way to play. Really simple way to take the next step, get into your Broodlord technology. You're going to have a lot of roaches to still maintain putting pressure on your opponent, so it ends up working out quite well. This is a little bit more reactive, so if you just want to jump straight into Hive tech and get into your Broodlords and all that stuff, it's a little more difficult to do, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in some of the future episodes. Just for this right now, all you need to do is make a decision of if you're going to tech or kill your opponent. If your choice is to tech, you keep your supply about 150. We'll take in your third base, we'll take in your fourth base, potentially we'll take in a fifth base, and then you get into the Corruptors, then you get into the Broodlords, and then you're going to take your opponent absolutely apart from there. Even in some of the higher end leagues, you're going to see, you know, typical Protoss players able to max out by 16, 17 minutes. You know, in the lower leagues it's going to take a lot longer than that, especially if you're putting them under pressure with roaches. You're stopping them from getting a third base. There's a little, you know, blood, a little violence, a little combat going on. Then you're going to be in fantastic shape. Alright, let's talk about benchmarks here. There's a few changes to the benchmarks, but the usual ones are still there, which means we're looking for 35 drones at 6 minutes, we're looking for 60 at 8 minutes. That should put us in really good shape. We want to have 4 queens. We still want to have our +1/+1 finished when we attack. We still want to have our roach speed finished when we attack, and we want to have our fast lair. So the standard benchmarks are going to stay there. Now where things change off is we want to have +1 melee and +2 carapace on the way. So that's one change. The other change is going to be, in order to get Broodlord tech ready by 17 minutes, what we have to do is make our decision by 12 minutes. So at 12 minutes we want to decide if we're going to continue to be aggressive and continue to attack, or if we're going to go to Broodlords. So when the clock hits 12 minutes, you make your decision, you stick with it, you start looking for the 4th base, you know, you start adding on a few drones here and there, you throw down your Spire, you get your Infestation pit, you get ready to go up to Hive. When you do that at 12 minutes, that is going to allow you to have Broodlords ready to go at that 17-minute mark. The other thing we're going to be looking for is we're going to cap our food at 150. We're going to look for 180 with our Corruptors. Then we're going to mix in our Broodlords and a few more Roaches or Lings to kind of patch it all up. So the benchmarks are going to be very, very simple and straightforward, but make your decision at 12 minutes is the big one. If you make your decision of what you're going to do at 12 minutes, everything else will fall in place. So make your decision if you're going to continue to attack, you're going to continue to be aggressive by 12 minutes, and then you're going to have your Broodlords ready to go easily by 17 minutes with the appropriate upgrades, with the appropriate economy to make it happen for you. Alright, that wraps up this particular episode of our Zerg Bronze to Master series. Hope everybody enjoyed it. Definitely follow me on Twitter. Definitely check out my stream when I am streaming. Do try to stream fairly often, although lately it's been a little inconsistent and been quite busy. But definitely check that out. If you want to send me a message, Team Liquid's probably the best place. You're going to be able to find me in the strategy section under Bronze to Masters. Really easy to find. Send me a message if you have any questions. The other thing too is I am still doing the Ask Filter show, so send any email for any questions you have for askfiltersc@gmail.com. The link will be in the description.